and welcome to episode 17 of Monday Morning Detective, the podcast. My name is Gino Scala, and I'll be your host today. We've gotten to, a pretty good increase in audience shares and a lot of people sharing our podcast information. And I hope you would do the same. Share it with those in law enforcement. Share it with those who appreciate true crime. We are going to discuss stories from a law enforcement perspective mostly, and investigations perspective. And today's topic is going to be about the despicable, infamous Casey Anthony. Yes, she's back in the news after 11 years ago having gotten away with murder, in my opinion, of her 2-year-old child, Kaylee, probably the most beautiful child you'll ever see. Now, at that time, and I'm not going to go into great details of the crime because it's been rehashed to death, but there are some points, just to remind the audience that she wasn't reported missing for 31 days. And she wasn't reported missing by her mother. She was reported missing by the grandmother. Obviously, you had just found out that she was missing because she had been purposely kept from the grandparents. And the grandmother called, the police got involved, immediately spoke with the mother, Casey Anthony, who was very combative, very argumentative, was not revealing in any information. And when she did reveal information, she lied. Clearly, she lied about everything. Famously, she lied about her employment with Disney, where she actually led the detectives onto the property, talked her way past security with the detectives, and she led them down a hall of offices to a dead end. And it was only at that dead end that she turned and explained, "I don't work here anymore." She had been fired a year or so earlier. So, this woman is a pathological liar and a pathological killer. She is absolutely the worst. I mean, on a list of bad human beings, she's right up there at the top on my list. Even above someone like Charlie Manson, who people forget never actually killed anybody, and, other horrible, horrible human beings. This woman is the top of that list, on my list. So, Peacock, the station, NBC-owned streaming station, Peacock, is paying her for a special to be aired in late November called Where the Truth Lies. Now, it's no accident that truth and lies, the words truth and lies, were included in the title. Clearly, they have an opinion of the situation and of her. And I think it's probably the same opinion we all have, 95% of us. She lied throughout the trial and got away with this crime. Now, what on earth the jury was thinking, they could have been the 12 stupidest people they could find in the state of Florida. That's the only explanation. Because attorneys in both criminal defense and prosecutorial attorneys could not believe that she was found not guilty. I mean, it was such a solid, solid evidence showing that, she killed this child. Now, it's possible that it was accidental, but it doesn't matter. She killed the child. Then she dumped the child as if she were trash, after driving around with the dead body for several days in her vehicle. I mean, that's all of this has been proven. Okay? Even though the grandmother, who actually reported the baby missing 31 days after she was gone, which is the first time she found out, even though the mother took, the grandmother, Casey's mother, took responsibility for the internet searches, no one believes she did it. Those internet searches included information on chloroform and how much is too much, or, how much do you give a child, and things of that nature. So the working theory, and it's obvious, that Casey Anthony wanted to go out and party. She was a single mother. This was a one-night stand baby. And she wanted to go out, but could not, for whatever reason, or did not want to. I think she was angry with her parents at the time. She did not want to find a babysitter. So her thought was, I'll put the baby to sleep and have her in the car. And that's what she did. Whether or not she was in a car seat, I doubt it. I doubt she was exposed to the public. I think she was put in the trunk of her small vehicle. She had used chloroform to put her out, and it turned out to be too much chloroform, and she died as a result. That's the working theory. Now, when they get to court, she testifies that her father, the baby's grandfather, who was a retired police detective, had been sexually assaulting both Kaylee and Casey, both his daughter and the granddaughter, for years. Well, Kaylee was only 2, so obviously it wasn't for years there, but for Casey testified that she had been sexually assaulted for years. Now, it was so obvious that it was all made up and fictitious. And this is what I call the Menendez defense. They make up these horrible, horrible stories for 2 reasons: to trash the actual victim, as in the case of Menendez. In this case, it was to create another suspect, and to perhaps explain their own shortcomings as the parent. So her story was, after years of abuse, the grandfather took Kaylee swimming. The baby drowned, and he panicked, and he covered her up with masking duct tape and hid her body in the woods. That is such a stretch of one's imagination. There were so many holes in that story. But Casey was her worst enemy on this case. She lied from the day she sat down with the detectives to the last day she took the stand. She lied and lied and lied, and she couldn't even keep her lies straight. they were elaborate lies. And every time someone presented her with an obstacle, she took a curve and created another lie and eventually weaved this story. And I mean, it wasn't even a good lie. Yet these 12 people on the jury found her believable, found her, you know, not guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's inexplicable. Add to that the sleazy defense attorney who was banging her throughout the trial and then banging her after the trial. And as if that's not enough insult to injury, she then gets a private investigations license. A private detective. I'm a licensed private detective. I'm a licensed private investigator in 2 states. Now, I don't know the laws of Florida and what's required to get a license there. But I do believe there was some internship that she had to put it. In California at the time when I got licensed originally, you had to have 2,500, 3,000 hours of work under a state license investigator, under their license. And so that's, that's equivalent to 18 months or 2 years, depending on how many hours you put in. And I worked under a number of different licensed investigators during that period of time. By the time I took my exam, which is a very difficult exam in California at the time, now who knows what it is now, it's been 25 years, the exam was very difficult as a bar exam, and I passed it, obviously. And in Arizona, there were some requirements there that I had to do, and I did them. And you just, reapply each year and pay for the certifications and things of that nature. So that's how it is in those states. If you do anything, or you have to carry a boatload of insurance for errors and what's called errors and omissions. So you can lose everything if you do something illegal, or if you testify to something illegal, if you lie on the stand or something of that nature. So it's a very high bar for a lot of people, not for honest people, not for true investigators and honest people. But to imagine that this creature is able to investigate other people, it's beyond, and make money at it. That's the thing. Well, speaking about making money, she has profited over $750,000 since Kaylee's death. Now, unfortunately, the Son of Sam law that was created in New York and is now nationwide in, I would say, most states, I don't know if all, and they all have different names, but they're basically the Son of Sam law, where a convicted criminal felon cannot profit from their crimes by way of a book or selling the rights. So any profit made through that venture is taken from them and given to the victim. There's usually a lot of restitution involved in crimes, and at minimum court costs. And usually those are never paid off because the person's in prison for life or whatever. So if they can make any money, it is then, I mean, let's face it, OJ owes $30 million. So he's paid a little bit of it by selling, or I think he sold his Heisman and things of that nature, and selling some memorabilia. But anything he makes, a certain percentage has to go to the victim's restitution. So, but a lot of this money is under the table as well, and it's never documented, etc. But she was not found guilty. She was not convicted. So she can profit from what I believe to be her crimes. And I will admit, I will see this special. I mean, the crime is done. She's not going to admit to it. That would be, we've all hoped for OJ to come forth. They have nothing else to lose. They can't be retried. Tell us. Just tell us. But they'll never do that. OJ more or less did that in his suicide note. But he never had the balls to actually kill himself, which is, a problem if you're going to write a suicide note and admit to a crime. But even that couldn't convict him. But this woman is despicable. The baby was absolutely beautiful. 30 million people in this country would have taken that baby off her hands. And she was out partying, drinking, flashing her tits, bar top dancing, doing drugs, all sorts of things. There's no real excuse to her. She wasn't a drug addict. She wasn't an alcoholic. She was a psychopath, a sociopath. She has absolutely no guilt and will lie to your face. And, I admit she's very, very attractive. She's quite beautiful. So is Jodi Arias. And we see these beautiful girls do heinous things. And, to me, it's even more unbelievable because God gifted them the gift of beauty. And we all know how far beauty can get one in the world. It can get you everything. And these girls did evil things. Evil, unforgivable, reprehensible things. So that will conclude this episode 17 of Monday Morning Detective. It is a case I feel very, very strongly about and will occasionally revisit and just rehash the information to myself because I find it so incredible. And it will be a case that lives with me for the rest of my life. So anyway, we'll be back soon with another story from the Monday Morning Detective. If you have any comments or want to add any suggestions on a case to discuss, feel free to drop it in the comment section or hit me up with an email. And we'll talk to you very soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.